and welcome to Read With Me Friday. I'm Shayla, a journalist and novelist that loves her some YA and will lead the discussion through some old and new YA and maybe get your juices flowing and get you to reading again. Um, this is a commentary on the YA I love the most, usually is of the dystopian era, including today's title. And fair warning, this show will hold some spoilers. I will try to keep from telling you the end. I will refrain from that, but I'll tell you a lot about what the characters do. This is my book report. I missed third grade. What can I say? So, this episode is about a book called Gender Games by Bella Forrest. Bella Forrest caught my attention sometime last year when I started really paying attention to my Audible list. And so I kind of binged through this series of the Gender Games. And yeah, she really got me. She got my juices flowing. So I figured I'd start right here with the Gender Games. The publisher description is as such. A toxic river divides 19-year-old Violet Bates' world by gender. Women rule the East and men rule the West. Welcome to the lands of Matress and Patress. Ever since the disappearance of her beloved younger brother, Violet's life has been consumed by an anger she struggles to control. Already a prisoner to her own nation, now she's been sentenced to death for her crimes. But one decision could save her life. She has to enter the kingdom of Patress, where men rule and women submit. Everything about the patriarchy is dangerous for a rebellious girl like Violet. She cannot break the rules if she wishes to stay alive, but abiding by the rules has never been Violet's strong suit. When she's thrust into some more danger than she could have ever predicted, Violet is forced to sacrifice many things in the Forbidden Kingdom, including forbidden love. In a world divided by gender, only the stronger survives. So, on the merits of that alone, I was all for this story. I love these kinds of stories, a dystopian future where the structure of Earth has changed so much. And the book is the first of a series, which I told you I love me some series. And this, I'm bringing you the first. And next week we'll talk about the second book. So this book is the first of a series of 7 books. And I love it because even the countries of Matress and Patress become characters in the story. Matress is a country built on the wrong side of a river, where the founders split from the founders of the other country, Patress, and moved to the toxic lands on the other side of that river, taking with them all the doctors and scientists so that they could make the place more livable. So the farmers and agriculturals, powerful men stayed on the Patress side and named that side Patress. That's where all the food is grown. And it's beautiful, fresh place. And of course, the men rule it and left the women to fend for themselves in the toxic lands because the women didn't want to be ruled by the men. And the men were like, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. And so they left and made this crazy country full of super geniuses because they had to figure out how to fix the toxic lands on that side so that they wouldn't die off in the first year. So in the beginning of the book, we meet Violet Bates, and she's 11 years old. And she's trying to stuff her little 7-year-old brother in some luggage or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But she was trying to sneak him onto a boat that her cousin was going to dock on the Matress side of the river so that she could send him off to Patress because her brother had been marked by the government of Matress as being an aggressive boy. So what they do with aggressive boys, they take them and they send them off, supposedly, to a camp on the other side of the river. So before she could get him to the boat, she gets caught and her brother falls into the toxic water. And that's the last thing she sees. So she is racked with guilt as she is arrested and taken into custody in Matrice. And she never sees her brother again. She lives with the guilt of the loss of her brother while she is locked away until she's 17. While she is in prison, you know, prison life, you gotta be tough and stand up for yourself. She did some things she's not proud of. She beat up a girl really badly one time, and so got her sentence extended. And then she killed somebody. It was an accident. She was just trying to defend herself, but she killed somebody. So she gets taken out of the prison because she's signed her death sentence and she is now going to die. Or so she thinks. She's taken away to the palace and given a secret job. She has to go to Patris and steal an egg. That egg holds a secret that Patris has stolen from Matrice, which has a genetic code that could change the world, and Violet has to get it back. But here's what we find out about Violet. Violet is actually not very violent. She's just a survivor, and she will do whatever it takes to do so, to survive. And it is so apparent throughout the entire series. The question is, how does Violet cross into Patris? Easy. She is a girl. All she has to do was get married. So she married a guy named Leo, who was a spy for Matrice. His mother was Matrian, and his father was Patrian, so he has dual citizenship in both countries. So he took his new wife into the new land, which has it was a lot like old Saudi Arabia, where she could not even learn to drive, couldn't go anywhere on her own. Her clothing had to be really well, she had to be really well covered and modest. But instead of locking her up in a house and escorting her everywhere, what Leo did was gave Violet freedom in Patris, because that's what she's used to. And he gave her a male disguise. So, and a voice changing pill that let her roam Patris like a man, to learn things. Now, Violet needed exercise, and she isn't violent, but boxing was like her sin space. Self-defense was her thing. So she went into the gym as a man and did a little boxing and sparring with the heavy bags. And then she found this dude named Vigo there. And he was what they call police officers in these countries are wardens. Basically, both countries are like prisons. And so the guys end up being, the police are wardens. Violet had gotten the training to become a warden before heading towards prison. Before she got in prison, she had been training with a warden in Matrice. And that's why she's so good at self-defense. And that's why that's her Zen place. Because after her mom died, that lady took her in and made her, feel more whole again. Anyway, Vigo is a warden as well. So those are the people in charge of the law. And he had once been head warden, but he had lost his position because of his now dead wife. His wife was a matrion, and something happened. Somebody did something to her, and she defended herself. And so she had to die. And Vigo felt guilty about letting her die. And so he decided to be a complete just recluse. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He really loved that woman. and he was mad that he had to let her die because of a stupid law. So he just was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And he was gonna buy his way out of being a warden because in order to pay for the sin of marrying a woman like that, he had to commit to being a warden for however long. But in order to buy himself out of that contract, he became something like a UFC fighter, and he's a major fighter. He was the winner. He was the champion of every fight. He was always winning. And the first time she actually saw Vigo, Violet was playing the wife of Leo, and Leo took her to a fight and introduced her to the world of the boxing. That's what they call it, boxing. But it was really like UFC. Like he was basically using all parts of his body. So it was more like UFC or MMA. And she was watching him, and she was smitten right away. The moment she saw that man fight, it was like, whoa, I love him. And so when she was in the gym doing her little sparring or whatever, she spotted Vigo and she sparred with him. And she was like, oh my God, I love him. Then she went home, she told Leo that she had met with Vigo, and he said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make him your bodyguard. Give him a little extra money so that he can buy himself out of there. And also gives us an excuse for why we're here, because I need him as a scapegoat. And Violet was like, a scapegoat for what? And he's like, did you forget your mission here? You're supposed to steal something from this place, and somebody has to take the fall for it. And it can't be you, and it can't be me, because we gotta go back to Matrix. And so she's carrying all of this inside of her, but she doesn't know Leo's big plans. She just knows that she's supposed to steal something. She don't know how he's gonna help her get in and all this stuff. So now Vigo is the most upstanding gentleman you would ever meet. And even though this man's wife, meaning Leo, even though Violet was hot as hell to him, he never let himself cross a line as he was her bodyguard. He would take her around as if he was her husband on the days when her husband was working and she was home alone, so that she wouldn't be home alone and bored. So he would take her around the town, and he was falling for her, and he wouldn't let himself cross that line. Violet, that's Trumpet, totally crossed the line. She was like everywhere. She followed him home one time and kissed him and just made him know that she wanted him. But she also told him everything she was doing in Patris. I mean, she was very honest with him that night that she kissed him. And then she told him the reason that she kissed him was because she was going back home. But Leo caught her. He actually had put a tracker in one of her foods, because he'd been watching her and he'd been realizing that not everything was right with her and she was going to break. So he tracked her down, he caught her, and he made her do what he wanted her to do. So not what she so didn't want to do. You realize you don't want to give away. I don't want to give away the main plot. I don't want to give away the surprise of what Leo wanted her to do, so I'm gonna keep it at that. Violet is a very well-formed character. This is my character analysis of this main character. She is very well-formed. We get to know her well in this book, mainly her traumas and her hang-ups, and we know that she will kill in order to survive, and we know that Violet has a vulnerability that is well hidden, so no one believes when she asserts her innocence. Her virtue is well hidden to all other characters. Here's my criticism though. She was hella stubborn and had no long view. She was viewed as this major mastermind, but she couldn't see past the end of her nose. Like, she was not. She had no long view. She was just about the here and now. But that also comes from her being a survivorless. Survivors are notoriously, short-sighted. They're living for the here and now. Whatever feels good now, whatever is happening right now, it needs to be fixed. Surviving is not a bad thing, but when you plan for some things, then you don't have to survive them. Okay? So, I digress. This becomes a problem for her in subsequent books. So this book contains 3 main characters, and Bella only concentrates on Violet, Vigo, and Leo. She gives us a great picture of who Violet is, and so what she does then becomes something predictable. You know that she will do things the hard way. She will always do the right thing, no matter how they want to pigeonhole her into being a certain type of person. And at the end of the day, at the end of the story, Bella catches you with a big surprise that makes you want to find out what happens with the stupid egg and Violet. There are traumas in between, but I just showed you the main arc. Some things that complicate the first plot for them that, I just read the story. I swear it gets tense there sometimes. You just want to hold your breath through some of these scenes. It's amazing. And you'd want to know what happens next. Before I go, have you read Gender Games? What did you think? Leave me a listener voice comment. Let me know how you took the story. The truth is, I stayed on the Bella Forrest train for 11 books. So we're going to talk about her stuff a lot. Hit me up on IG at SkullPro. And Gender Games is also available on Audible wherever else books are sold. I totally immerse myself in it through Audible because I'm a busy person, and so I like to read while I'm driving. So I read all 11 of her books through Audible. And I say read because sometimes I close my eyes and I see the words and everything. Luckily, I don't close my eyes while I'm driving, but I digress. Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I'm an author. Not a YA author, but you can check out my book, My Boyfriend's Mother, available on Amazon. If you want to support this podcast and reading in general, click the donation button and keep us going. That's it. Till next time. Much. Bye.